This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
I think what's happening on the eastern coast is going to embolden the oil industry to try to push for more exploration and ultimately drilling in the Gulf.
Let the search begin. President Trump is reversing an Obama-era policy. Now companies can begin searching the Atlantic coast for oil and gas reserves. Could it give the U.S. more energy independence, but at what cost? Environmentalists say it could lead to an environmental disaster. Tonight we'll hear from both sides on this heated debate. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the future of energy exploration in the Atlantic coming up. But first, our top 7 stories at 7, and we begin in Punta Gorda, where the trial of Police Chief Tom Lewis in connection to the death of a 73-year-old woman is entering day 3. Today, jurors heard from a firearms instructor who was called in to help investigate after the shooting of Mary Knowlton in August. Sims says usually blanks are not used in shoot-don't-shoot scenarios. The chamber are left empty. The defense argues blanks are allowed. According to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, prosecutors argue Knowlton would be alive today if Chief Lewis had done a better job in controlling the department.
Who did he designate checking Lee Cole's firearm to?
I do not know.
Could you ever make a conclusion after reading all of the command staff statements?
No.
Lewis faces charges of culpable negligence in Knowlton's death during a citizens training academy. The trial continues tomorrow. An update on the Palmetto woman charged in connection to her mother's murder. Kayla Coiler is pleading no contest to charges of accessory after the fact to murder, grand theft, and tampering with evidence. The judge accepting the plea, putting Coiler on probation in addition to time served. As part of her plea, she must testify against her boyfriend, Roy Nichols, who is charged with second-degree murder. A trial date has not been set for Nichols. Sarasota police are investigating a third shooting in just the past week. The most recent one happened around 10:30 last night on 33rd Street near Goodrich Avenue and Osprey Avenue. Police say the shots came from a Mercury sedan. One man was shot in the foot. He was taken to Sarasota Memorial Hospital. No arrests have been made, and the search continues tonight. Police were also questioning if this is related to 2 other drive-by shootings. One shooting took place at 32nd Street and 301 last week, followed by another on Sunday at 31st Street and Goodrich Avenue. Those shootings also remain under investigation. Police have not released a motive of either of them. New developments on the construction of lift station 87 in Sarasota. Finally, Osprey Avenue will reopen next month between Hillview Street and Mound Street. The road closed last July, so micro-tunneling work could be done on the bridge over the Hudson Bayou. It is part of a major project to replace the current lift station. The new station is scheduled to be completed in 2020. No word yet when Osprey will reopen, aside from sometime next month. According to AAA, more than 44 million Americans are expected to travel this 4th of July weekend. Nearly 90% will get to their destinations by car, and gas prices are the cheapest in years. Here in Florida, the average $2.16 a gallon, but prices at some gas stations on the Suncoast are less than $2. AAA says it comes down to supply and demand.
The supply of gas is there. There's a lot of U.S. gas coming around, and that just supply and demand. Supply is here.
Nationwide, the average cost of gas is $2.85 a gallon. Prices could go up as more people hit the road. Manatee County is receiving a first-of-its-kind honor in the state for environmentally friendly architecture and programs. Florida's Green Building Coalition is naming Manatee the first platinum-certified county government. This comes after years of effort by Energy Manager Diana Robertson and Sustainability Coordinator Michelle Powers. A host of initiatives led to the certification, including the county's energy-efficient downtown chiller plant, the countywide transition to single-stream recycling, and the landfill gas generator, which has slashed energy costs at the Lena Road landfill. A big improvement for Manatee County schools. Florida's Department of Education is releasing grades for the districts across the state today, and Manatee County received an overall B grade, up from a C for the first time since 2009. In fact, 81% of the schools received an C or higher, and none of them received an F grade. Sarasota County is once again holding on to its A grade. It's one of only 2 districts statewide to earn an A every year since 2004. And of course, Bob, you get an A+.
Thank you, I guess. For the morning weather, anyway, afternoon storms are around now. Ellen, we're looking at showers and storms developing on the sea breeze front, as well as outflow boundaries all across the Suncoast. Get a look at the Lakewood Ranch webcam showing you pretty nice day today. That's the A, and then we start to get into the C category here as the showers and storms develop. But it cools us off, right? So we get a B+ on that. You can see the clouds darkening and thickening up on that last frame of that time lapse, the Lakewood Ranch webcam. You're going to get some rainfall here in just a little bit, it looks like, as storms are really starting to develop as the outflow boundary continues to push off to the west. You can see that one in Northport just developed about a half hour ago, and that's produced a little bit of lightning there. Also in southeast Manatee County, pretty big cell moving off generally to the southwest. They're not moving all that much, so they're producing some heavy rainfall and some frequent lightning strikes now near Mayaca City, just to the east of Hidden River. Look out, that may spread in your direction. The slice of that, the 3D, looking up to 45,000 foot heights, and that's pretty good. Above 30,000 starts to generate the lightning, and we're seeing one lone shower there developing near Parrish. As I mentioned, down near Northport, street level, US 41 in between I-75 near Warm Mineral Springs, and right there in the city of Northport, getting some one lone lightning strike there. Our current conditions at the Sarasota-Braden Airport, it's 88 now, and near the beach, it's sunny, and the dew point 74. We have a west wind at 6, and the pressure 30.04 inches, which is high, and continues to rise as a result of the high pressure building in from the Atlantic. 88 in Sarasota, 82 in Jacksonville, and 86 now in Miami, 87 in Key West, where it's raining. It's cooling things down a little bit. That's the nice aspect of these afternoon storms. Dangerous lightning, but the nice cooler weather to follow.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, exploring uncharted territory. President Trump is giving the okay for seismic air gun surveys in the Atlantic to locate oil and gas reserves. But could it hurt marine life and damage our shorelines? We'll hear from both sides of the issue when we return.
We've all heard how military veterans adjusting to the civilian world may have certain issues.
30. 70.
If only everyone had this issue. No matter what challenge they face, Easter Seals is here for America's veterans.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Since 2014, Addiction Hope and Helpline has answered calls for recovery and treatment 24/7, 365 days a year. If you're depressed, drinking, using drugs, or taking pills, call now and talk to someone who cares.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Most insurance covers substance abuse. You can get back on track. Call now for hope and help with proven gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call 800-622-1941. 800-622-1941.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator. There was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs. Stop the crimes.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
No? Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny had been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Check out mysuncoast.com/dining, your guide to the foodie lifestyle.
Gas prices are at 20-year lows in Florida. That's just great, but as we all know, it can change on the dime with a crisis overseas, especially in the Middle East. Now President Trump is proposing opening the Atlantic, including Florida's east coast, to oil exploration and drilling. Does that mean the Gulf Coast would be next? Kate Flexter is here with more. Kate.
Thanks, Alan. Advocates say it's a great step for our economy, but environmentalists say it opens the door to a possible catastrophe like the BP oil spill.
For more than 30 years, the Atlantic coast has sat relatively untouched, with no oil or gas drilling in those waters since the early 1980s. But that could soon change. The Trump administration is taking steps to allow 5 energy companies to begin oil and natural gas exploration from Delaware Bay to Cape Canaveral, Florida.
Our country is blessed with incredible natural resources, including abundant offshore oil and natural gas reserves. But the federal government has kept 94% of these offshore areas closed for exploration and production.
As one of his last moves in office, President Obama passed an executive order banning offshore drilling in parts of the Arctic and Atlantic Oceans, a last-minute attempt to block President Trump from expanding offshore drilling and to prevent environmental disasters like the BP oil spill.
I share people's concerns about offshore drilling. I remember the BP spill in the Gulf of Mexico all too well.
It's a concern shared by environmental advocates like Justin Bloom.
Accidents happen that something like another devastating oil spill might occur, and that would create havoc.
In the BP oil spill of 2010, it took 87 days to cap the well, leaking more than 170 million gallons of oil into the Gulf. In the process, the commercial fishing industry lost an estimated $247 million, and the tourism industry lost $22.7 billion. Even beach towns that weren't directly impacted by the spill could feel the effects. Bloom worries a catastrophe on the East Coast would have similar results.
Imagine what a Canadian or German or British tourist is going to imagine when they see soiled beaches on the East Coast. They're going to think that Florida is not a place that they're going to want to travel to.
Plus, energy companies use the controversial seismic testing, which shoots loud blasts into the ocean floor to map its geology. Environmentalists say it's harmful to marine life, destroying ecosystems and interfering with mammal-to-mammal communication.
They will downplay the impact of it and say that it's just a mild noise, but it's like a continuous thunderstorm for months.
But while some argue it's a bad step for our environment, others say it's a great step for our economy, creating jobs and independence from foreign oil.
Probably the biggest thing you're going to find by sourcing our energy locally is it's going to drive down cost. It is going to make things cheaper.
USF economics instructor Michael Snipes says driving down that cost has the potential to create a positive ripple effect through our entire economy.
Oil and petroleum products are things that almost every industry uses. And so if we make those things cheaper, it's going to make costs lower for the industries that use those goods.
But Snipes says it would also increase competition among energy companies and could lead to an expansion of offshore drilling in the Gulf as well. The Gulf is currently under a moratorium banning oil and natural gas drilling within 125 miles of the coast. But that's set to expire in the year 2022.
That would certainly put pressure on companies that have wells in the Gulf to increase production, maybe go out deeper.
That's exactly Bloom's concern.
I think what's happening on the eastern coast is going to embolden the oil industry to try to push for more exploration and ultimately drilling in the Gulf.
As for the Pacific coast, it's been closed to this kind of exploration since the late 1960s.
Kate, thank you. Drill, baby, drill, or not off my beach. We'll drill down on the issue when we take it to the trapezoid.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, Contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday. And I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
With Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-990-3613. That's 1-800-990-3613. Call now, 1-800-990-3613.
I am the resident district manager on the FAU campus for Chartwell. Whenever I see Haley, I do not see a person with a disability. I see a person with extraordinary abilities. Haley is always smiling. She's always on time. She gives fantastic customer service and is always focused on any job that she's given.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Ever since I can remember, I've been intrigued by industrial design and the optimization.
Wait, that's passion? Ever since I can remember, my passion has been industrial design. We need 3D printers for Miss Adams' engineering program so that we are ready to solve 21st century challenges.
Impressive. Think It Up is a new initiative to support student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classroom today? Think it up.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish!
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7, your Suncoast News.
Which brew of coffee may be healthier for you? In our Health Smart report.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Welcome back. President Trump is opening the door to oil exploration and drilling off Florida's Space Coast. Could the Gulf Coast be next? Earlier this month, the president signed an executive order allowing for seismic testing in the Atlantic just before leaving office. President Obama placed the waters off the East Coast off limits to drilling. There are also proposals in Congress to allow drilling off of Florida's coast in the Gulf Coast in the name of energy independence. Is this a good idea or short-term memory of the BP Deepwater Horizon disaster? And joining us for more on energy exploration in the Atlantic is Frank Alcock, professor of political science at New College of Florida. He is also a former director of the Environmental Studies program at the college. And Rod Thompson, president of the Sarasota Republican Club. He is also the founder of RevolutionaryAct.com. We have to talk about that.
That'd be great.
Okay. Here's the one question I had, is that since the beginning of the year, oil prices are down 18%. And one oil industry expert says that given the price of a gallon of gas right now, or oil, it's not even cost effective for oil companies to start drilling, and doing these things. So in the short term, Frank, is this a moot question?
Well, there's two parts there, is what impacts would drilling have on prices, but what impact will prices have on drilling. I think with respect to the East Coast, there's a lot that's going to have to happen before the oil is pumped. And so everything from, if they're actually going to open it up, everything from exploration and development to then issuing leases, we're talking probably 5 or more years before anything is actually going to get drilled. And you don't know what prices are going to be then. So they'll probably come up from where they are now. With respect to the impact of drilling on prices, it is a global market. And so it's how that, the volume of oil and gas that gets pumped, oil in particular, how does that affect world supply? It's just not much. It's not going to affect prices that much.
Rana, I'm curious what you thought of the interview in Kate's package where the environmental lawyer said, look, if we have an accident like the BP oil Deepwater Horizon, tourism is our #1 industry. It could be devastating on the East Coast, especially with the amount of tourists from Europe and Canada and so forth. Does that concern you?
Not really, for a couple of reasons. Number one, we can look to BP, which is an old rig, an old setup, and that's one. What are the major ones do we have? We have thousands of these rigs in the Gulf there. what other major ones are there? I mean, this is really a technology that has evolved greatly in safeguards, and I would expect that to continue. I also think that part of the problem with that, when Kate's numbers where there was, you know, a couple $100 million were hurt in the fisheries, because they were really hurt, and then 20-some billion was hurt in tourism, that's because of the media coverage, which was, it was a big story, but it was a little overwrought on the impacts because it did give the impression that the whole state of Florida was besieged by oil when that was never even close to the case. So I think a combination of increased technology and a little drawback on media coverage if something were to go wrong would be a great thing.
It was a state-of-the-art rig, though. That it wasn't an old rig. Deepwater Horizon was state-of-the-art when it blew up.
You want to respond to that?
No. Not on that point, no.
Okay. And I do remember covering the issue at the time. I don't know if the reporting was so much of the environmental devastation in Florida, but there certainly was in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama.
There was, and there was some along the coastline there. But what I'm saying is our tourism industry got shellacked by it when there wasn't any oil here. I mean, Sarasota even got money from BP and all for the damages done. We didn't have any oil anywhere near us, and we were never going to, really. So, I mean, I really think the technology is improving at such a rate, and the cost. When oil companies look at the cost that BP had to bear for many years, they have a pretty big incentive themselves to be cautious.
Frank, is that a fair point?
Oh, that BP has an incentive to be cautious?
No,
of course they do, yeah. Nobody wants another one at the Deepwater Horizon.
The danger of a calamity like that is so minuscule that it really shouldn't figure into our debate about this.
Actually, what I learned in the Deepwater Horizon in the aftermath was that with respect to the type of drilling that they were doing, very deep water, but also very, very deep in the Earth's crust, it was a lot riskier than even the regulators were led to believe. And so we found out that this was not exactly a shock, but it might have been something that we should have anticipated. I do think the industry gets better and better at what it does, but nevertheless, there's always going to be some risk. And you might not find out what the level of risk is until after the accident happens.
Okay, we are just getting started, and we'll pick up the discussion of offshore energy exploration right after we check on our weather.
This is an important announcement. If you're between 50 and 85 and worried about your loved ones, you can still get affordable life insurance for peace of mind.
My life insurance coverage is guaranteed, and I was not required to get a medical exam.
I had high blood pressure and diabetes, and I got my coverage with one telephone call. No exam necessary.
I'm a smoker, and I wanted to take care of my family. I called to get my life insurance and my affairs in order. I wanted to do the right thing.
Call Final Expense No Exam Insurance. Your rates are guaranteed and will never increase.
I called and learned that this insurance cannot be canceled even if you get sick or gain weight.
And there are no restrictions on how my beneficiaries use the money when I'm gone.
Approval was easy and the price was right. I wanted to do this for my children.
Call 800-738-9812. 800-738-9812.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. Mirena, Yaz, NuvaRing, Ortho-Evra, Depo-Provera, Paragard, and Nexplanon have been linked to the development of serious conditions called pseudotumors or false brain tumors. Symptoms of pseudotumors or false brain tumors include loss of vision, chronic headaches, pulsating sounds, nausea, and dizziness. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free and confidential, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will make a difference in my community.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
Our discussion of energy exploration in the Atlantic Ocean continues in a moment, but right now let's get a check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Well, clearly you can see this outflow boundary. We've been talking about it all these newscasts, and this one right here, the radar sensitized a little bit more so, and you can see big storms along the east coast moving this boundary, and then watch its wake. It creates these showers and storms rapidly. Within the last 15 minutes, these storms breaking out now. As that boundary works through, you can see the lift it's created, and now we'll see more developing right near the coastline. This one in Northport just kind of blew up and then quickly fell apart, but still it generated enough lightning around there, dangerous lightning. So beachgoers beware. That boundary is headed toward Anna Maria and then eventually Siesta Key and places to the south. And showers and storms follow its wake. So once it moves through, that's when the storms start to fire up and produce and generate some of the lightning. They're not around that long. They're only lasting about 30 to 40 minutes, and then they're moving on and dissipating. This one in Mayaca City is still pretty strong, though. It's been there about 30 to 40 minutes now, but it is starting to weaken, generating some lightning there. Northport has also had a brief storm there, and now that activity will start to pick up a little bit, especially in the beaches, along the beaches. Now, currently at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport, it's 88 looking out to the Gulf. It's nice and sunny there. The winds are out of the west at 6, and the pressure 30.04 inches. The high today, above average, 92. Our average at 89 degrees, and the record 96, set back in 1998. No rain officially at the airport right now. We're still doing pretty well, just about 10.5 inches. 82 in Orlando now. It's 88 in Sarasota, but where it's rained, it's cooled down in the upper 70s to low 80s. Northport, you're at 83. Bradenton still warm, 89 degrees, and the Gulf water temperature now at 89. The forecast tomorrow, a little bit better chance for showers and storms developing in the late afternoon and evening. Each day we move toward the weekend, we'll see better chances for those typical summertime thunderstorms that we are anticipating to stay with us through the weekend and through July 4th. Now, future winds, it'll stay out of the east tonight, so we'll have a pretty nice start tomorrow morning. Temperatures in the low 70s, inland locations. Generally fair skies to start the day on Thursday, but then that sea breeze starts to develop and we start to see the clash of the east coast and west coast breeze meet. And showers and storms will be back with that dangerous lightning, which is also important now to take heed when you hear the thunder roar. Go indoors because it can be very dangerous to be out there, even when it's not raining where you're located. Southeast winds turn to the west for boaters, and seas running 2 feet or less. A light chop throughout the weekend, and the water temperature now bath warm, 89 degrees. Beaches will see a high of 88, and tides upcoming. The next tide is a low tide at 12:09, sunset at 8:29. Should be a good one. And the forecast looks like this for tonight. Scattered showers and storms, otherwise partly cloudy skies, 76 for your low temperature. And then the extended forecast is calling for a good chance for scattered showers and storms through the week and into early next week as well. Al will be back with the guests right after this. Stick around.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
My name is Luke Perry, and I am 1 million strong. I'm in the fight against colorectal cancer because I believe we can win it. Colon and rectal cancers are the second leading cause of cancer deaths among men and women in the U.S. Colon cancer is preventable. Know the risk factors and make sure to get screened. There are simple, take-home options available. Take control of your health. Screening for colon cancer isn't embarrassing. It can be life-saving. To find out more about your options, visit fightcrc.org.
We answered the call of duty and left our homes to serve in far-off lands. Now we answer another call, this time at home, in our own communities, to respond in times of chaos, to use our strength, our skills, and our experiences to bring hope amid devastation and destruction. Together, as a team of brothers and sisters, we're continuing our mission to make this country a little stronger and a little better each day. We are Team Rubicon.
Hurricane season is here, and so is the official Suncoast Hurricane Guide from ABC7. This essential resource arms you with vital information you need to protect your family and property when severe weather threatens the Suncoast, including how to create your readiness plan and survival kit, shelter locations, what to do with pets, and important phone numbers. Visit mysuncoast.com and download the official Suncoast Hurricane Guide from ABC7. Brought to you by Batteries Plus, the Florida Lottery, and Sarasota Glass and Mirror.
Welcome back. The Trump administration is proposing a plan to allow companies to use seismic air guns to search for oil and gas reserves in the Atlantic Ocean. Could it impact us here on the Suncoast? Our guests tonight are Frank Alcock of New College of Florida and Rod Thompson of the Sarasota Republican Club. I guess the obvious question is, do we need to do this? Oil prices are, as we reported, the gas prices are the lowest in 20 years or 15 or 20 years. Are we making enough progress in terms of alternative forms of energy that should we be doing this, Frank?
Well, it's about impacts. I don't think you're going to see much of an impact on prices. So if you're concerned about prices at the pump, no, this is not going to have much to do with anything. Jobs, certainly, we want more jobs. But while I do not want to be somebody that's going to overblow the environmental risk, there are some risks. I've been pretty outspoken on this issue because of my background in energy economics, that a lot of the gains that are proposed are really overblown exponentially. And so, the job impact, the economic impact is, for something like the Atlantic seaboard, is probably going to be very, very modest and a lot less than is claimed by the industry. So I don't think we have to do that. And if we do go down this road, people should be aware there's not much in it. I mean, regardless of what you think about the risks, there's just not much there in terms of rewards.
Right, okay, so let's take the jobs and the environmental risk off the table for a moment. In terms of energy independence, given of what we go through in terms of Middle Eastern oil, is this something that we should be doing?
Sure, I would say so, because we periodically get roiled by the problems that are in the Middle East, and we have been overly reliant. Now, technology in recent years has reduced some of our reliance through, fracturing and directional boring and seismic imaging. All these sorts of things have helped, actually have helped a lot. This is part of the reason why prices are lower now, is because we've been able to extract some of these fuels at a lot cheaper rate than before. But I don't think that we want to, even in principle, I don't think we want to tie our hands going forward and say we're not going to do it in the Atlantic, we're not going to do it any more in the Gulf, we're certainly not going to do it in the Pacific, we're not going to do it in the western states in a different way, the directional boring and all there. We're not going to do it in Alaska. If we take everything off the table, then I think we have a problem long term. And if we only take some off and not some off, then when we cherry pick it that way in a strategic way, then I think we create winners and losers within the states, and that's bad.
I guess the question is, should we, instead of drilling and exploring these reserves, be running towards alternative energy, whether it's solar or wind?
I'd like to see more, but I'll come back to, if we want to drill more, if we want to increase production in this country, I'm not against that. But the vast majority, according to government estimates, the vast majority of undiscovered hydrocarbon resources are in areas where they're already open for drilling. The Gulf of Mexico, the Western and Central Gulf, that's where all the oil is. Not really much in the Eastern Gulf. There's a lot up in the Western states area. Alaska might have more than we realize. Not much in the Atlantic seaboard.
Right. So, I mean, the oil companies clearly are not going to explore very long, and they're not going to drill if there isn't oil there.
If they can make a profit, they'll do it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, so it would have to take some reasonable amount of sizable reserves in order for them to be making a profit, because they have to, as you pointed out with Deepwater Horizon, they have to be there for a long time. They have to, because it gets deep in the Atlantic pretty soon, and so they'd have to expend a lot of money to start getting oil out. So they'd have to have a sizable reserve.
And the obvious question is, if we open up the Atlantic to more oil drilling, does that inevitably mean that it will become closer to our shores in the Gulf? Frank?
I think they're different. I think the politics, certainly, of the federal moratorium in the Eastern Gulf and the factors that are in play, including the military base activity, just very, very different from what's happening in the Eastern Coast. So there could be some momentum, but I think the dynamics for the Gulf area are just different. And also the economic impacts. I actually think if we were to develop along the sort of the southeastern United States. There's not much infrastructure over there, so there could be a little bit more of an economic boost. But the refineries are all in Louisiana, and so if we open up part of the eastern Gulf, you're not going to see a bunch of new jobs. You're just going to redirect people, a few hundred miles over this way.
That's been the argument of the senator from Louisiana, is that it would create jobs in Florida. Frank's point is the refineries are in Louisiana, in that area.
We're not building refineries in Florida. Trust me, we're not going to do that.
Right. In terms of the politics of it, Bill Nelson has been against it. Vern Buchanan has been against drilling off of the Florida coast. Marco Rubio has not been ironclad on that. What is the politics of this, Rod?
Typically, the politics are if you're a congressman or a representative in a coastal county, a coastal area, you're going to oppose it all the time, and that's bipartisan. That crosses the lines. Interior in Florida, you're a lot more indifferent to it, and you might look at it as a way to lower energy prices, and so you're a lot more indifferent to it. Typically, you have both senators of either party will oppose it. There's a certain amount of NIMBY that goes on, and everybody always wants to be reelected. And I don't think it's particularly popular to even be talking about offshore drilling in Florida for Floridians, most of whom live on the coast.
So, if it's a question of should we explore and possibly drill off the East Coast and the Gulf Coast, are you for it or against it?
Well, no, I'm for researching it, like we're doing with this seismic testing for it. I am for researching it to see what's there, and then we can determine from there. But I think we should be looking at the Pacific too, and I think we should be looking at Alaska. The reason why I bring these up, and the Western states, I think that this should be a broad strategic plan to look at all of our assets, see what's available, make known what's available, and then the market can be determining where to go.
The key thing that you said there is strategic plan. Frank, is there a strategic plan from the federal government in terms of how to approach domestic oil production?
Nothing yet. I mean, this is new for this administration. I think the last administration had a strategic plan.
Which was basically no.
No, actually, I think the Obama administration was ready to make major concessions on offshore drilling in return for the Waxman-Markey climate energy bill. When that fell apart, the incentive, and then he switched course on offshore drilling, and so it changes. Let's just put it that way. No, we haven't had a stable long-term energy strategy in this country for a very long time,
including not only domestic production but alternative fuels. I mean, I know that the Obama administration pushed for that. Is that part of the menu for Trump?
We don't. I don't think it's part of an emphasis for him. But on all of the above strategy, a little bit for everybody usually is part of a lot of the last number of administrations. But the Congress doesn't agree with the president, and we keep changing, parties in the White House. So it's not stable.
Let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic: privatizing air traffic control.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Prescription drugs aren't as bad as street drugs, right?
Weed's legal, isn't it?
Drinking is worse than smoking weed.
Isn't it? Why
is heroin so addictive?
Molly just makes you feel happy.
I have questions.
Mom?
Dad, did you ever try drugs?
They're going to ask. Be ready. Go to drugfree.org. A message from Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
My name is Haley. I have Fragile X syndrome. I work with Chartwells at Einstein's and FAU. I like being up front and interacting with students. The students are very nice and very hungry. Having a job is a big ticket for independence.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Enjoy some of the best Suncoast restaurants on me. Just go to mysuncoast.com/dining, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already, and you can win a $50 gift card to a restaurant in our area. We'll pick a winner each week, so go on our website and sign up now.
Welcome back. The Obama administration blocked attempts to survey the Atlantic for oil and natural gas. Could it do more to energy independence for the U.S.? Are the potential environmental impacts worth the risk? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. So, Rod, if I understand your point, you are not opposed to exploring whether or not there are oil reserves there, but you're not set in terms of whether we should be drilling off the Atlantic.
I think, like I said, I think that to some degree that's up to the market to determine then. If there's lots of reserves and it's worth it and it can extract a lot of fuel to fuel our economy, then I think that's fine. What I really don't want to see happen is to see with millions of jobs potentially at stake and with economic energy independence at stake, knowing prices will eventually go back up, and this could be a hedge against that. I don't want to see us paralyzed because of the possibility that there could be another spill at some point somewhere. I don't think that's a good strategy for us as a country.
Frank, the argument always is that we need to find our way to get off that yo-yo, which is Middle Eastern oil, and if we could produce our own oil supply and energy, we are much better off. It's hard to argue about that, but would drilling off the Atlantic or even in the Gulf, do that?
Yeah, I think the risk-reward calculation is just going to be different depending upon the particular place that we're talking about. In the in the Atlantic region, I think even exploring has some risks for marine mammals, and there's a report out today that there's other marine life that might be affected by the seismic. So there's some risk there. I don't want to overblow it. Given what I know about that region, it's not the next Saudi Arabia. But if they do exploration in that area and suddenly somebody discovers that it is the next Saudi Arabia, that'll change the conversation. Right now, given what I know about that area, and also in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, I just don't think it's worth it.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. But before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, privatizing air traffic control. Right now, controllers are employed by the Federal Aviation Administration. The Trump administration says shifting the industry to the private sector will lead to faster innovation and, in turn, faster and cheaper air travel. However, some in the industry worry it could cause chaos and say the U.S. Already has the best air traffic control system in the world. Here is what some of you are saying. Wendy Smith writes, "This is a highly stressful job that requires a unique skill set. Leave it alone." Randy Westbrook writes, "Good for Trump. This system we have now is like dial-up internet." And Desiree Frayne writes, "Your flights are going to double in price. Private companies, and who do you think will pay for new technology?" Well, what do you think about offshore drilling? Is it time to survey the Atlantic for oil and natural gas, or should we leave it untouched? Join the conversation by visiting our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. FYI, you can watch past discussions. They're on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to both our guests for being here tonight. Frank Alcock is a professor of political science at New College of Florida. He is the former director of the Environmental Studies program. And Rod Thompson is president of the Sarasota Republican Club. He's also the founder of the RevolutionaryAct.com. When we return, we'll have a final look at your weather, plus taking the fight to Florida's highest court. Justices on Florida's Supreme Court are hearing arguments in the feud between Governor Rick Scott and State Attorney Aramis Ayala. We'll have the details in our primetime headlines.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday. And I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
With Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-990-3613. That's 1-800-990-3613. Call now, 1-800-990-3613.
If you're only hungry for a slice of apple pie, why buy the whole pie? And you certainly wouldn't want to pay for an all-you-can-eat buffet. So if you don't use your cell phone that much, why get charged for a plan that's too big or even an unlimited plan? Luckily, there's still a wireless company that shares your values. Welcome to Consumer Cellular. Our average customer pays about $25 a month for everything they need. Many pay even less, as plans start at just $10 a month. You'll get a straightforward bill that's easy to understand, with no surprises, and all the attention you deserve from our friendly customer service team. No wonder Consumer Cellular has received J.D. Power Awards for highest customer service. Plus, if you're an AARP member, you'll receive special discounts. It's easy to switch. You can even keep your phone and your number. So stop paying for more than you need and start your 30-day risk-free trial today. Call 1-800-468-1930. Go online or visit a Target store today.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Matter.
And I'm Ray Collins. The latest on a local football coach's lawsuit against the Manatee County School Board.
We'll tell you why the former coach is accusing the county of forcing him out. That's tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
Pattern change brings a little more rainfall to the Suncoast. We'll talk about how that's going to occur bright and early.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Alan, fascinating tonight. Different kind of night. We have this outflow boundary, which is really well defined on the radar. You can see it quite clearly. Right there it is, and in its wake, creating these big storms. They're sporadic. They're not all along that line, but you can see them developing. We had some in Northport, and that faded away. This one near Lakewood Ranch is really quite big and getting bigger, but it's not moving much, so it's producing some heavy rainfall. On top of that, we have the East Coast breeze, too, working its way off toward Wauchula. And it ran into an outflow boundary right there and just kind of exploded just south of Wauchula. And this will generate other storms down the road as it continues to head off into the Gulf of Mexico. So beachgoers beware. Not everyone's going to get the rain, but I would suspect to see one or two more lone storms popping up here and there along that boundary as it heads off to the west. Right now, by far the biggest storm is from State Road 64 all the way up to near Parrish now, with a tremendous amount of lightning occurring there. Lakewood Ranch Town Center not getting much now, just to the east, so it looks rather ominous as that storm is rather quite tall, in fact up to 50,000 feet for the most part, and that produces and generates quite a bit of lightning, even some small hail possible. But 88 degrees near the coast at the airport, and the dew point is at 74. Pressure still pretty high at 30.04 inches, and temperatures into the low 80s where it's cooled, even some upper 70s where the rain has moved in. 83 in Mayaca City, 79 in Arcadia, 83 in Lake Placid, but still 88 in Cortez, and temperatures along the coast into the upper 80s at Longboat Key, Siesta Key, and in Osprey it's 89. But notice the cooler weather down south where that shower was just flaring up about a half hour ago. Well, the forecast tomorrow calls for more of the same, with showers and storms developing in the afternoon and evening mainly, and it could linger up until 9, 10 o'clock with those sporadic storms. We're starting to get back into more of a normal pattern with high pressure bringing us that east to southeast wind in the morning, west coast breeze in the afternoon, and that is typical of summer, and that summer pattern is expected to persist right through the weekend and beyond, for that matter, with no major changes in sight. And it looks as though we will see pretty decent, though, weather throughout most of the day. So I don't think we're going to see any washouts during the daytime, but late evening, good chance for showers and storms to be around. Still hot in Phoenix at 108. 79 in Minneapolis is cooler, not bad over the Great Lakes. Detroit, 75 degrees right now, and 90 in St. Louis, though, and 76 in Boston. This little system here looks rather ominous. It looks like it's going to be heading toward Louisiana, Mississippi over the next 24 hours. Should not be a factor for us. Southeast winds for boaters turn to the west at 5 to 10 knots. Seas will be 2 feet or less, a light chop out there. And the water temperature is steamy, 89 degrees. And we're looking for tides upcoming just after midnight. We have the next low tide. High tide will be at 6:30. Sunrise at 6:38. Evening storms about, otherwise 76 for your low. Tomorrow, showers and storms in the afternoon. Yes, this is Florida, this is summer, and that's what we see over the next 7 days. Prime time headlines with Alan. We'll be right back after this.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my
my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-628-1251. 800-628-1251.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. Many people with Medicare may be able to get extra benefits and don't even know they're available. You may be able to get dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage included in your plan. The Medicare Coverage Helpline is accepting calls to see if you're eligible to enroll now. You may be able to get extra benefits including dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Buchwald. Making sure you go to the doctor and taking all your medications as prescribed can help protect your health. To make it easier, you may now be able to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that includes coverage for dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Help protect your health by choosing the right plan for you and get all the benefits you deserve.
Call to see if you may be able to get extra benefits including dental, vision, and prescription coverage. Don't delay. Call to see if you're eligible to enroll and may be able to get extra benefits now. Call 800-711-7200. That's 800-711-7200.
Here we go. We're going to go out there in the rain. You're going to get wet. All right, here we go. Go, okay, quick. Oh, yeah. Yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
Now for your primetime headlines. Countries across the world are recovering from a computer virus that swept the globe. Hackers behind this ransomware are seeking money to release crucial data captured by the virus. It finally appears under control in the Ukraine, but other countries like India are still reeling. ABC's Maggie Rulli has more.
As the latest cyber attack infects computers around the world, now a potential vaccine. A researcher in Boston posting that he found out how to stop it. By changing one file name, you can disable the virus. But it's a limited fix. All the hackers have to do is change the name of their virus to get it back up and running.
Basically, your computer becomes a brick.
U.S. targets included Merck Pharmaceutical and a hospital outside Pittsburgh, where doctors could not access patient medical records.
She called me and said surgery was canceled because the computers were down.
Companies in Asia and across Europe, an oil giant in Russia, and at least 2 large corporations in Australia also affected.
One of the key things about addressing a ransomware attack like this is to make sure that we are sharing threat information with our partners overseas.
The big question, how did it spread so quickly?
The virus is believed to have originated in Ukraine, where it took out the airport, power grid, and even ATMs. Thousands of targets all receiving this ominous message on their screens. Your files are no longer accessible. Nobody can recover your files without our decryption service. Send $300 worth of Bitcoin.
Sometimes if you pay, you get your data back. Sometimes they just take your money and move on.
This latest cyber attack is very similar to another computer kidnap and ransom scheme that hit last month. That attack was linked to North Korea. Maggie Rulli, ABC News, New York.
Now to Venezuela, where President Nicolas Maduro is condemning what he calls an armed terrorist attack on the country's Supreme Court. Maduro says a helicopter flew over the court complex yesterday, firing guns and dropping grenades. He claims the attacker, a police pilot, used a seized helicopter. It comes after the man posted a video online declaring opposition to the government. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley says Maduro will use this as an excuse to exercise more military authority over protesters. At least 76 protesters have been killed in the country since April. Now to Washington and the latest on the Republican health care bill. The Trump administration is trying to get the wayward Republicans back on board after a vote on the bill was delayed. Protesters storming Senate offices today chanting, "Kill the bill, don't kill me." Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says changes will be made to the bill, including for Medicaid, opioid treatment, and rural hospitals.
We'll continue working so we can bring legislation to the floor for debate and ultimately a vote. We know that we cannot afford to delay on this issue.
According to a new Marist poll, 17% of Americans support the bill. Among Republican faithful, support still lags at 35%. The fraud trial of former pharmaceutical CEO is set to start today, but the court is struggling to find impartial jurors. Martin Shkreli caused nationwide uproar when he hiked the price of a life-saving AIDS drug by 5,000%. Even though the charges he is facing are unrelated to that, Shkreli's lawyers argue the negative publicity made him, quote, the most hated man in America. They've already gone through more than 200 prospective jurors. The trial is expected to last 6 weeks. If convicted, Shkreli faces up to 20 years in prison. A legal battle between Governor Rick Scott and Orlando State Attorney Aramis Ayala went before the Supreme Court of Florida today. Justices appear skeptical of Ayala's claim prosecutors have absolute discretion in death penalty cases. Scott transferred 24 cases from Ayala's office after she announced she would not seek capital punishment in the high-profile case of accused cop killer Markeith Lloyd.
The law is very clear here that there's nothing that requires it to be a case-by-case decision, that there's nothing in the law that requires her to seek the death penalty, and that a close examination of the law as it stands is going to find as we argued here.
No one individual in our society has the right to say, I've taken a hard look at this, I've considered all the available evidence, I've figured out this issue, and I'm going to make a policy judgment that is blanket across the board.
Justices have given no time frame for when they will make their ruling. Meanwhile, federal prosecutors in Orlando are asking a judge not to dismiss an obstruction charge against the wife of the Pulse nightclub shooter. Noel Salmon is charged with aiding her husband and allegedly misleading investigators. The charge was filed in the Orlando District Court. However, Salmon claims she is accused of misleading Fort Pierce Police, which is considered the Southern District of Florida. Salmon argues the charge was filed in the wrong venue. 49 people were killed in the Pulse nightclub shooting last year. Now to Point Verde, Florida, where the mother of a 16-year-old transgender boy is suing the Florida school board. She says her son is being denied access to the boys' restroom at his high school. Her son, who identifies as Drew Adams, was born a female but has identified as a male for 2 years. Apparently, school counselors instructed Drew to refrain from using the boys' restrooms and told him to use gender-neutral restrooms instead. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us, and have a good night.